Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Furbabies Summit here on Friday afternoon. We are with Jillian Adams, and we're excited to have Jillian on today. Jillian is the people team lead at Wagmo, which is a wellness and pet insurance company. So, Jillian, thank you so much for coming on with us this afternoon, and we're excited to hear more about this. So, I will go ahead and turn that over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephanie. We're excited to be here. Very much so. Bear with me as I'm getting my screen going. So
Absolutely.
hopefully I share the right thing.
Oh,
there looks good.
Awesome. Good. Everyone can see okay?
Yes.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for having us here. I too am a pet parent and have been a foster parent as well to pets. And so this is a vet near and dear to my heart. Today's topic is really about something we all deal with in one way or another, and that's rising costs and for the pet care that we want to give our animals. We want to make sure that we're able to keep pets healthy, and the trends are showing an up demand in caring for pets, which is amazing. But at the same time, those costs are going up at the same time, especially now with people being able to work from home or hybrid or whatever it may be. We're seeing more of that care go to the pet. But then the economics maybe aren't necessarily there to help support that pet parent. And so we want to talk through some of those economics and some of the preventative care things that we can do and some options that Wagmo can, we certainly have a solution in place, but that's really not why we're here. We really just want to talk about pet wellness, that long-term care, and what some of those options may be. So as you can see, there's me and Otis. That was on a NFL Sunday. He actually let me put a Steelers jersey on him, if you can believe it.
Well done. Well done.
Go Steelers.
I know. I typically don't dress him up, but I was like, let's see if we can do this, because we took a team picture at Wagmo and he did it. And I was like, all right, let's do this. So I'm not here to advertise Wagmo, but I do want to let you know you're at least talking to people that are working in the space. And so again, I'm Jillian Adams. As Stephanie said, I lead our people function, but our company was launched in 2017 after our founder, Christy Horvath, experienced the limitations and frustrations of traditional pet insurance when her young dog became unexpectedly and critically ill when she was a bit younger. And so as she got to a place where she was comfortable starting up a business, she teamed up with a self-proclaimed insurance nerd, Allie Foxworth, who is our other co-founder and their former colleague from BlackRock, and to build a different kind of pet wellness company, one that puts people and pets and technology together to help simplify the process and to support pet parents as the caregivers and providers that you are. We do have a product, but that's not my main reason for coming here. Our mission is really ensuring all pets get the care that they need to live the longest, healthiest life possible. We also want to ensure that pet parenting is as financially accessible to as many people as possible. And we've seen that problem. We've experienced that problem ourselves where that's not the case. And so we want to make that easier for everyone. So with that, these were there was these statistics. I was surprised and not surprised at the same time, but pet parents are an ever growing and diverse pack. If you can believe, there are 70% of US households include at least one pet member as a member of the family. According to a 2021 broad-based pet industry survey. That means it's two out of every 3 families. So 90 million total, with 114 million cats and dogs alone. For anyone keeping score, that's 69 million for dogs and 45 million for cats. That's a lot of family members. And when you consider the comparison, just 40% of US households have children under the age of 18 living at home. Yeah. So I found that super interesting. And what that let us know, and that lets me know as a pet parent too, there are a lot of us out there. And that means there are a lot of needs and concerns and wants that we have, as evidenced why we're here today too, right? There's a broad view of things we're talking about. And so this one was just interesting to me. And so as I grounded myself in the statistic, I said, wow, let's think about that for a second. That means there are almost twice as many families with pets at home than with kids.
Mhm.
And for kids, we have all these options. Now, don't get me started on, accessibility for people in certain, types of care. I understand that it's not the same for everyone, but we still have way more options for our children, our human children, than we do our pet children. And so this really is about how do we help get more of that financial accessibility. In addition, we're also seeing some surprising trends and are really positive trends on the fact that, and probably no surprise to any of you, that 95% of people that do have a pet consider that pet as part of their family, no different than they do any other person in their family. And so just like our kids, pets are other children, or are the only type of child we have. This has changed a lot over the years, and it's absolutely, the pandemic pet thing became a thing because people are at home more and their lifestyles changed, and found that they could care for a pet or give that time to a pet that they couldn't before. But it also means too that what we're hearing is that there's a trend in spending more. And we're also finding that people love having the pet around because they report mental or physical health benefits from it, including cardiovascularly for themselves. So we are all getting a ton of benefits from our pets. And so we want to make sure that we're able to do that same thing for animals. And so things for us to think about when we think about pet wellness is really pet parenting being at an all-time high, but so are the costs. So if you look at this increase, there was an increase of $6 billion in pet care spend over the last, since 2020. So that was only over about a year and a half from when the survey was done, if you can believe that. And this is all going on as we have supply chain issues, inflationary issues, things like that. And so when we look at the spend, there's $109 billion being spent in this space. And this includes basic necessities like food, preventative treatments, flea and tick, heartworm, grooming service, etc. There's no shortage of needs. There's kennel and boarding and treats and medications and all of those things. No shortage of it, but there's definitely a shortage in the pet parent space. I don't know, Stephanie, have you or anyone on the call, have you all experienced that those costs going up and feeling like you can't quite keep up?
Yeah. I could speak to one quick one. We've seen a steady increase in our food, in the cost of food alone.
Yes.
Even just almost, well, definitely month over month, but even just there's two of them that increased a week and a half ago, and now it's gone up again. So yeah, and they attribute it to the shortages, but that's something that it's affecting a lot of households that I know, and ours. My costs have gone up too. So
yeah, same here, and it's a legit problem. And yeah. Go ahead.
And of course, that care goes up too, and that's something we try to budget for and hedge against. So, we're definitely seeing it.
Yeah.
Definitely seeing it.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of options for that care, and for those costs to go anywhere. So we have like FSA and HSA, and you have your premiums, or you have your copays that. Well, again, our medical system certainly has lots of cost to it. There's still ways to mitigate some of those costs. And we don't have a great way of dealing with the wellness part of it. And so if you just look at like the basic wellness care that we have for our pets, on average, a healthy pet, we're not talking about one that's going to the emergency room all the time. We're not talking about one that has allergies. We're not talking about, one that has hip dysplasia, anything like that. A basic cost for a dog per year is almost $1,500, and for a cat is $900. That's just table stakes costs. And there's nowhere for those costs to go. And then if you look at the prevention, some of the other things that are happening is we're seeing new pet parents. So I know some people on here may be, you may be experienced pet parents, you may already know what to do, but then there's a lot of new pet parents that have come in with that the pandemic pets, or people that now can have one or always wanted one and finally got one. And so what people don't realize is there are diseases like parvovirus and leukemia, feline leukemia, that previous, if you had grown up with a pet and maybe didn't have one as an earlier adult and now have one, those things were deadly before. They actually have vaccines for them now, and you can actually prevent some of these diseases that when we were younger you didn't know about.
Yep.
Or that were absolutely, unfortunate death sentences to animals. And that's not meant to scare anyone. It's more, what it does is there's so much that's been done for care for animals and research that has helped to take care of our animals. But we don't often know about that. And so for those of us that grew up with pets that maybe didn't have pet insurance or pet wellness, or really just only took our pet to the vet when there was a problem, there's so many more opportunities now for caring for your pet. And there's so many treatments like we may get as humans that are preventative. And so we really want to help educate people on making sure you're getting that preventative care and that it's financially feasible for you to do so. Because those costs can be great. We just saw $1,500, $900. That's a lot of money. For a lot of families, when you look at the average income across the United States, that's a lot of money out of a paycheck. And that's not even the surprise stuff that comes our way. So we want to make sure that pet parents are really well aware of what those costs are, but also have a way to help make that happen, if that makes sense.
It does. Totally does.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if any of the other speakers, did any of the other ones talk about some of these diseases that are, treatable now that maybe weren't before?
We have not just yet.
Okay.
So this is really good for everybody that's listening and watching. So yeah.
Okay, great. Well, that's great. And I'm sure, more conversations will be had over that. And so we just want to make sure that, again, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So the question really is, how do we handle this better? So far I've said, hey, here's all the problems, here's what's going on. And again, whatever you do, I am not here to sell you. I am here to just say, these are very real things. And there are things that we can do to help. So one of the things that Wagmo has done that is different is we've created a wellness plan. So I don't know, Stephanie, have you had pet insurance before?
I have. I've had it and I've been without it. So I've been on both sides of that coin. Yep. Mostly without it. But it's, and especially growing up. So there were, like, as you said, there were things growing up that we didn't have a way to mitigate it or stop it, and we really didn't know how to prevent it. I think now we're in an age where we have so many more options, and it's just getting it out there for everybody to know, hey, there are options. There's other things you can do. So
I know
this is great.
Yeah, I am definitely one of those people that growing up with my parents, I had my first dog. We always had animals around. My grandfather was, we had a dog that came down with parvo, and he laid with him, at night and while he passed away, and we just took care of him because there was nothing you could do. And so growing up, I really didn't, it was not in my lexicon really to go, oh, well, I'm going to get pet insurance. And for the few times I would hear people bring it up, they're like, it's not worth it. It's awful. You pay and they cover nothing. and they don't cover the stuff that I have to spend all the time. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I'm working. And then I meet the team from Wagmo and I see this wellness stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what we've been waiting for. So I nerded out just like anyone in this space. And so essentially when we look at that wellness care for cats and dogs, you have your office visit, your vaccine, your routine testing, your preventative care, your grooming, all of these things that you need to take care of that are coming out of your pocket every day. Typically, how insurance was set up is you would go for an insurance plan and then they tack on a wellness plan, maybe if they had one available. It would be minimal in what it covered. It certainly didn't cover grooming and preventative care. It might cover some testing and an office visit. And it might give you 30, 40, 50%, but you had to have insurance. Well, what's the problem with that? The problem with that is not every animal can get insurance. They may have a pre-existing condition. They may be older. So, and you're like, oh, I should have gotten it and I didn't. And now they're older and they're not covered. There could be a variety of reasons why a pet doesn't qualify for insurance. So if you can't qualify for insurance, how can you get wellness?
Mm-hmm.
We broke it out. So we have an entirely separate wellness plan and this really goes to our mission of every single animal, pet, dog, cat, at this point only, can get the care that they need. So you can get money back for office visits, vaccine, routine testing, preventative care, and grooming. And I'll show that a little bit more later. But why it's so important is we don't want people to go broke or broke taking care of the day-to-day stuff. And we also don't want you to have to make decisions on whether you go to the vet or not, because we know if you take your animal to the vet regularly, for dogs specifically, when they get to about 7-8 years old, they become a senior, and it's they recommend that you go twice a year. Well, that can get really expensive, and the testing gets more expensive as well. But if you do those things, just like with us humans, if we go get our physicals, we take some, we might have to take medication to help us with something. We know we're going to live a longer life. We've seen the lifespan of our lives increase because of medicine, because of the things we've been able to do with vaccines and just general care. And so as that evolved, same thing applies to pets. So we know if we spend this time and we make it financially accessible to do so, our pets can be happier and live with us longer. Because I know I don't like losing one. I lost one in October. I lost my baby Wrigley in October, and it's the most painful thing in the world to me. And so I just want to make sure that pet parents don't have to do that. So that's what I want to have a little bit of fun today. I'm curious to get to know a bit more about the audience. If you're game to play, essentially all you need to do is go on your phone and type in www.menti.com and then enter the code, or you can just pull up your QR code and click QR code, and then it'll take you right to the poll. So the question is, how many on the call today have a dog, cat, or both at home? So I'll give a few minutes, I'll give a minute or 30 seconds at least for you to try to pull that up. If anybody has questions, please just put it in the chat. So I just like to get to know the audience a little bit better.
I think that's really fun. I do know the overwhelming majority of the folks in my groups that I know, they've all got cats at home, and half of them, about a good third of the minimum, half more so, have a dog at home too. So it's yeah.
Awesome. Let's see if I can get this over there. So bear with me here. It's not gonna be pretty, but we'll see if anybody's taking it. Oh, we have one cat. We have one person playing at home. That's okay. Not everyone wants to play at home. That is all right. I just like to break it up a little bit because I know
that is really cool though. That is really cool.
Yeah. So
later on, people will be clicking that.
I know, they're like, what is it? And it'll be open because I haven't closed it, so you can absolutely see what happens. But that at least a little bit of fun since I'm just sitting here talking. But the main thing here is we do want to provide a solution. So we've talked about those problems. We do want to share a little bit more. So our coverage is more, but please just investigate. Again, not about us. It's about investigating what you need. The one thing that was really that long-term wellness care. We are the only ones with that. Or if you have an insurance and you have insurance already and you want to add on, talk to them about their add-on for wellness, because the things that they will cover for us will cover your vaccines, your routine exams, blood work, your analysis, fecal tests, grooming, dental care, flea and tick and heartworm prevention. There are no waiting periods. There's no restrictions. No pre-existing condition gets in the way. There's no age, no breed, no deductibles, and they're easy and fast claims. I can tell you, I went through the claims process, and no, it wasn't just because I was an employee, because I've looked at the averages. I was paid back in 5 minutes. So essentially what I did was with my phone, I went on, took a picture of my receipt. The claim thing came back, said, hey, you've got this. And it was in my Venmo in 5 minutes. So I pay a small monthly fee, but then I'm getting the money back. And so I'm essentially cutting down my costs pretty significantly.
Mm-hmm.
We certainly have Wagmo insurance as well for those emergencies with deductibles and things like that. And we offer some of the highest reimbursements possible. Most plans offer 70 to 80, maybe 90. We offer both 90 and 100% reimbursements. And we do have kind of low and higher deductibles for some of those more emergency care things. The good thing is too, the one thing we want to do is make things more simple. So when you log in, you don't have to choose if it's wellness or insurance. You just put your receipt in.
Oh, wow.
And then we will determine whether it's wellness or insurance based on our claims process. And if it's wellness, you'll get paid back really, really fast. If it's insurance, it'll go through a quick adjudication process, but it takes no more than a week. If we think about how it is to work with our health insurance providers on our own stuff, we know it's not just a week, it's months, it's weeks and months, and maybe a year or more for ones that get bought. So this is a really easy process. And again, you can use it on your phone and it takes 2 seconds to do, and we'll make everything easy for you. So you don't have to sit there and go, what do I do? What do I not do? Because I will admit, I have the insurance. And one of my coworkers came to me, she goes, well, you're a customer, I want to interview you like a customer. So I understand. And I admitted to her, I said, hey, I didn't have pet insurance prior to Wagmo. Here's the things that I really thought about, didn't think about, et cetera. And she goes, oh, interesting. That's fascinating. And then I said, and she goes, well, have you submitted for your interest stuff? I was like, no. I said, I don't know where it's going to go. She goes, Jillian, you don't have to know where it goes. And so I went through the process and she was 100% right. So it does make it more simple. And when I think about caring for the pet parent, it's really about, like, we're all so busy. The fact that you all are dedicating this time here to learning more about different products and services and things to help care for your pet, or just to learn by listening to people, is amazing. But we all know you don't all have all the time in the world. You do have other commitments. And so making something as easy as possible is really our focus as well. Because the easier it is for any of us, some of us, like, you won't wear clothes if they're in a drawer, but if you put it in your closet, you will, because you see it. It's just how humans behave. As if it's easier, we'll do it. It's how habits develop. And so for us, we want to make it as easy as possible for you to care for your pet, because in the end, we just want them to live amazing lives. That's really what drives us. This is a little bit of information about our wellness plans. Again, I hit on that. Wellness coverage is available in all 50 states. So that is something important to know. With the insurance side, it is not. There are a few states, I think it's Rhode Island and Florida, that don't allow that to be offered for insurance, but wellness, everyone can get, no matter their situation. We do have different plans available. So we have a value plan, a classic plan, and a deluxe, depending upon what you need. We do see people with older pets or puppies tend to get the deluxe. And then in between can go to value or classic. Those tend to be where people would go. I certainly am not making a recommendation either way. I'm just letting you know kind of what we see from people. And then our insurance covers all of these things here that you see. And I know that there's Labs of Love is on, which I've used in the past and have been so gracious to me when we've lost 2 of our dogs. But end of life euthanasia is covered as well. So when you think through all of these things that unfortunately we often have to go through for our pets, just as if we do for humans, there are so many things that are covered here, including hereditary conditions. And a lot of times hereditary conditions may not be included in an insurance plan. And so that's something, again, whatever service you're looking at, all I hope here is that I'm raising awareness of what could be covered, and that as you're vetting plans, as you're looking at options for yourself, you're able to say, okay, well, let me ask about this, let me dive into this, and let me understand it a little bit more. To make sure that you're getting what you need in order to care for your pet and to help care for your finances as well at the same time. And then just to show you again, the easy process for claims. This is literally, as you watch this, you can visit any pet or groomer. So unlike health insurance, where you often have to go to something that's in network, there's no in-network stuff that happens here. You upload a photo of your bill to submit a claim. And then wellness claims come within 24 hours via bank transfer, Venmo, or PayPal. And so you can see here, as you literally take not even 30 seconds for that thing to scroll through. And I'm not kidding when I say that's the exact experience that I had. So pretty nice. But I talked a lot. And so I wanted to, just open it up for questions about, pet wellness and the care that we can provide our pets, and see if there's anything that I can answer for all of you.
Guys, if you're in there, go ahead and drop your questions into the chat. Jillian, I can say I have to speak to the ease of the app. That is wonderful.
And again, I feel bad because it's like, I don't want to come in here and sell something. It's more just like, this can be easy.
Yes. And it's been hard for a long time. As I said, I've been on and off pet insurance, but when I was first learning about it, it was a completely different landscape. And so I've done the paper version, I've done the portal version. You send the claim, you do all this stuff, and it takes a little bit. But that is superbly easy right off of your phone. I mean, you can't get any easier than that. And I know you're here to educate about this. And it's something that, like, I just wanted people to know that it's out there, because a lot of fur baby parents are like, they don't know, and they'll go to the ER clinics, and they'll go to the vet clinics, and they have to apply for care credit, which is I'm not bashing care credit. It's a great thing to have. Absolutely. They have it in the dentist office too. Yeah. But it's another process, and sometimes people are denied for it. So if they have another option to get insurance or to get wellness, because they are different, and not all wellness plans are the same. Yeah. It's a wonderful thing that may actually be able to give them more leeway than care credit does. So they may be able to treat more, treat better, or to do more on the preventative side and catch something earlier before it becomes, DEFCON 12 and everything goes nuclear. So, and I talk to people, they're shocked. They're like, I didn't know you could do that. You can do that,
Yes,
so
that's awareness.
That is the point of this. And it also shows them what can happen,
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can happen.
A lot of things. And with so many, as I said, pandemic pets, there are just so many new pet parents out there. And like I said, my whole goal is just, please know that there's different things you can do, because I would hate for, and I had to make these decisions earlier on in my life too. So it comes from personal experience of you're younger, or you didn't know, and you were super excited to get your pet. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I just went for a new puppy and it was $1,500. And you're like, I don't have that in my bank account right now. And so you have to put on a credit card. And then when you start to look at, like, debt is raising in families over the last few months, something just came out the other day about it. I don't want somebody to have to go in debt to pay for their pet. I want them, I don't want that to be a choice. Right. And so if you know that the stuff exists, that's great. But yeah, there's care credit, and like you said, there's any other vendor you could go to. If they cover it and it works for you, great. Just knowing it exists and talking to your vets about it, I'm happy to always answer any questions. So if anybody on here, is like, hey, I didn't want to ask a question in front of people, totally fine. Just let me know, and we can chat through it.
Mm-hmm. So you had mentioned that there's not an age limit on those wellness plans either. That's phenomenal, because that's something that we run into often, is that there's an age cutoff, and it might be 14 years or 15 years, or the tiers increase. So I've seen that. And then in the wellness, it's really cool that you guys cover the routine things, because a lot of those often get excluded from traditional plans, and they're changing. I've seen a lot of things change for the better. But that's a really different, it's a different aspect. I've not seen that very much. So yeah. Do you, if they want to have more information on it, or to find out more about it, can they just go to the website, or?
Yep, you can go to the website, and I can put it in the chat. I'm having some issues with my mouse here. 1 second. Here we go. I can put it in the chat. Or maybe I can't. Oh, there's just questions in there. Got it. Or did I just go to Q&A? That's what I did.
Okay.
User error here. Hold on. My mouse is just I'm switching between screens, and it has decided to be difficult. Sorry about that. Okay.
One question we have you seen, or have you guys seen more of a particular issue or issues coming through on the claims lines, if that makes sense?
We actually see more, one thing we see come through the most is vaccines, which
Mhm.
is vaccines and flea and tick. So that has actually been great because I don't know if some people, I think a few years ago, people would go and they're like, oh yeah, sure, I give my dog this, but they don't because they didn't think it was needed. And so we're
Mhm.
actually seeing a lot more coming through for that, which is great. And the nice thing is, you know, from that standpoint, you can get money back for that. So while it typically can cost $200 to $300, you're getting $100 back on it. So that makes it a lot, at least I did for mine. And again, it depends on your plan, but that's something that we're seeing a lot more with, which is good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a lot of, or more specific types of health issues that are coming up in different?
I'm trying to think. We've had some interesting
Young
ones. I don't
maybe?
know that we've seen a trend in the types that are coming up.
Mhm.
But well, that's not true. We've seen quite a few heart issues coming up.
Okay.
That has absolutely happened, and I can't tell you at this moment if it's, you know, food, if it's hereditary, whatever it may be. You know, but those have been coming up, and then we always get the ones for cancer. Unfortunately, that seems to be a fairly prevalent thing. You know, fairly prevalent thing that happens. We're also seeing some different infections pop up that hadn't popped up before. So there's like a genital infection, something that's, you know, I had never even heard of it before.
Mhm.
They have a specific word for it, but it just gets infected, similar to a woman who might get, you know, get an infection in that area. Some of the male dogs will get a type of infection. It's treatable, but it usually requires a vet visit to get the
Mhm.
treatment. You can't just do like a teledoc and have it fixed. So that's something where that can just be $300 flat out for just that visit, and then the medicine on top of it. And those types of things are starting to pop up more, but the heart one absolutely always comes in. Cancer always comes in. There's been no trend away from that. But the other ones are kind of hit or miss, just depending upon the breed. Frenchies
Mhm.
obviously have a lot more things that they need. There are certain breeds, you know, that, and I'm sure people way more experienced than I will in the breed process can share. We tend to see a little less stuff from mutts just because of the mix
Mhm.
of the animals seem to balance some of the things, but we do see claims from, you know, from Frenchies quite a bit with a lot of different stuff. And now that I think about it, allergies. People seem to be
Allergies.
more proactively caring for their dog's allergies than they were before. You know, the things you might see, like the sneezing in a dog, or their nose running. I think especially here in the South, I see it. My dog's never really had issues, but I've noticed that Otis has started to get the runny nose. He doesn't have a cough, but he loves spending time outside, just like I do. And just like me, he has allergies. And so, you know, it's like, I love the outdoors, but the outdoors hate me. Apparently same thing for Otis. And we're actually seeing that a lot. We are seeing that a lot, is that people are caring for allergies a lot more so that their pets are living a better life. They're not sitting there, you know, a lot of times we'll see dogs that are scratching on their back. We're like, oh, they're just playing. And when you really look, especially for those dogs that have thicker fur, if you really look, there's actually irritation on their backs, and they're trying to scratch themselves because their allergies are bothering them, or some other dermatitis issue or something is bothering them. And so I became more aware of that through talking with some vets, as well as with our claims team, on different types of things I wouldn't have thought about with the dog. I was like, well, dogs are outside. Like, they lived outside for years before they were pets. Like, what do you mean allergies? Well, so did we. We lived outside for years, you know, and now more things, we have more allergies. So that's something to consider and watch out for if you're seeing the nose, you know, the nose running or sneezing, or constant licking of something, or scratching their back out, you know, scratching their back constantly. Those are things we're seeing as well.
Well, and yeah, that's it's also one of those things where if you can catch it and catch it ahead of time before it becomes something that's a bigger problem and it takes more months to heal. Is there I was going to ask you for pet parents who may not know, when you said you cover or you take care of hereditary issues as well, what are some of those issues that have cropped up?
Some will be
Just
like
so that they know, because some people may not really know what hereditary entails or what that means, or what kind of problems they could have that are hereditary, that they might hit a wall with another group.
Sure. So if you think about dogs that have kind of the flapped over ear,
Mhm.
ear infections are pretty prevalent. Shar-Peis, I know, have them. My golden retriever had ear infections all of the time. And so the ear flushing, the stuff you have to do to flush their ears regularly, and if you don't catch it, you're always going to the vet to get medicine. So those are
Mhm.
hereditary type of issues that are known by breed. Heart murmurs, they're dementia in spaniels we've seen. So it's a disorientation to them, right? So they get older, cataracts. So I think we've seen that in spaniels as well, the cataracts with a little bit of dementia. And that's often why they get grumpy
Mhm.
is they can't see or hear as well. And so then they get really grumpy, and sometimes they can bite or do things like that. But if you're able to care for those things and you know that up front, you can often do some things to help prevent that. So it lengthens the amount of time until something like that exists. For example, I can speak about Wrigley, who did end up passing away in October. He was losing his bladder. He had a back issue, which apparently was known in poodles, and he was a mix. And so that was a hereditary issue. And then he started to get the cataracts, which he got from the cocker. And so he got this combination because he was a mixed breed. He was very healthy for almost his entire life until the last about year. But a few years prior to that, we started, because we were doing preventative care and we knew it was hereditary to the breed, they paid specific attention to his kidney levels. And when they saw the slightest change, we started treating it immediately, which our vet said, she goes, this prolonged his ability to live a healthy and lively life much longer than it would had we just not been doing preventative care and had kind of let things happen. So those are some examples of hereditary things. There's breeds that have all sorts of things, and I will not pretend to be an expert in any of that, vets, and I'm sure a lot of people here will talk about it, but those are some things that we have seen and that I've also seen with my own animals, where our vet has shared that information with us, or as we've fostered, we've learned about those breeds that have had those things, so we can give them a little bit more care.
To your point about the kidney disease, that's something that if you can catch it ahead of time, you can really, you can slow it down.
Yes.
You can't stop it, but you can
No.
slow it down, and you can keep it at a manageable level that's not so detrimental to the rest of their systems.
Yes.
And dogs and cats are famous. We know they hide everything so well until when we finally do see it. Now we're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And it's, it's further down the line.
Yeah.
So that's a really great thing on the wellness side again, that if you're able to go in and get those visits and have some assistance with it, that it'll pick up things like that. And you can just have a heads up and a lead to go, okay, this is something to be mindful of. This is something to kind of watch out for. And these are some things that we can prevent. I know with kidney disease, if you catch it at an early enough stage, you can start doing fluids and you're fine for a while.
Yeah, absolutely.
So everything there's a lot of great information there. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, and the cancer as well, if you're going and doing preventative, the earlier you catch cancer in dogs, it's just like humans. The earlier you catch it, the better chance you have of of fixing it, curing it, or making it so it's not detrimental and hurtful to that animal for quite a long period of time. We had a golden that there was a golden that had cancer, and it was because we were able to get treatment sooner. that dog lived a very healthy, loving life for about 10 more months with a very aggressive cancer where the dog was still running around and eating and playing and doing all those things. Whereas if that dog hadn't been getting taken care of in that way and they hadn't caught earlier, the dog would have been put down within a month because it was an aggressive cancer. So you think about those babies being your children and a part of your family, that was almost an entire year that person got with their animal that they wouldn't have because they were doing the preventative care and caught a little bit earlier and of no detriment to the dog. So it's not like they were keeping the dog around for themselves. It was, and that's the thing. Like sometimes we don't want to go to the physical because you don't want to know what's wrong as humans, and applying that to, if we do that for dogs, if we just go, okay, well, I'm going to do this, it can really help.
It can really help. Well, Jillian, thank you so much for coming on with us today and sharing this. Everybody, if you're listening to this directly or if you're watching the replays when those come up, go and check them out and go and think about some of the things that you can do to help prevent some of these issues in your dogs and your cats, because there are options out there now. So
you got one final question you need to ask.
Do we?
Yes. In Q&A.
Oh, my apologies. Do the plans cover modalities outside of conventional medicine, like IV vitamin C, ozone therapy, acupuncture? And do they cover natural supplements versus only the pharmaceuticals from the vet? Thank you, Elizabeth. That's a fantastic question. My apologies, I didn't see that.
That is a fantastic question. Right now, we cover the FDA, things that are approved by the FDA. That can certainly evolve over time, but right now it is FDA covered things. But I also had, I will say I've had tremendous care with CBD and things for my own animals, so I get that. But no, not at this time. Now the acupuncture and some of those other things, I'd have to check. So I'll check back with the team and share it with you, perhaps, Stephanie, so we can spread that information to the rest of the group. So thank you. That's a wonderful question.
That is a fantastic question. Again, I'm sorry I didn't see that in the Q&A. I was looking at the chat box, so thank you. Do we have anything else before we wrap up for?
That's it.
That's it? Okay.
All right.
Well, go out with a bang, right?
Wonderful question. Thank you all, whether you're watching this on video or not, for dedicating the time you are to your animals. And thank you to you, Stephanie and Scott, for running this to make sure people can get as much information as possible.
Jillian, thank you so much for being on with us. We really appreciate it.
Have a wonderful weekend, everyone, and a great
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.